And I think all the neighboring schools are aware of the successes that Linton has there. And that's very important. But you don't have athletic successes if you don't also have academic successes. It just won't work. And I think as I knew about some things yesterday, I learned a lot more, and I'm just excited to see what I can do to help those programs along and see if there's something that I can bring as well, and to do that. Just some great people here. I had a good fortune early in my career as I worked on my advanced degrees, licenses to be an administrator to take classes with some of the Linton people, Charlie Carey Z and Jeff Sparks. We had a lot of classes together and over a couple of years, and they're just you get to know them. And did I ever think I was going to be an administrator at Linton-Stockton School Corporation? No, I thought,
I'm sure you thought your career was going to end in South Knox.
I did. I
that
did.
Would make sense.
And especially as old as I'm getting to be, but
preaching to the choir.
Things God has a plan, and I hope I don't want to beat anybody over the head with that, but I'm a person of faith, and I think as much as I questioned last spring, where was I going to be, what was going to happen, how was this going to work out, I knew that He had a plan, and I just had to be patient, and it would be, things would happen, and my patience paid off. I was offered the position to be principal at North Knox, and that worked out well. I had talked to Dr. Gold last spring, and she had sought me out and said, look, I'm probably not going to go beyond next year. I'd really like you to think about when the opening comes up to think about this. And to me that made me feel good, because here's somebody that again has things going very well, thinking that I could take the baton and continue going forward.
In a way, did that kind of tell you that you were right by standing by what you?
Well, I think right is maybe not the best way for me to think, but I understand what you mean. Do I feel valued in a way that I hadn't been valued by a few? Yes. But as far as the feeling right, there were too many people at South Knox that spoke up and then reached out to me and said, how sorry they were the way things. That's how I knew that I was okay, that I didn't have anything to be ashamed of, or that, you go through that and you do have the moments of self-doubt. But, this is one of the things that touched me, I think, the most. And I know I'm focusing on the past more than I am about the future that I had. But the day after the meeting when they voted to terminate my, however you want to put it, my daughter called, and she had at that time my grandson was about 4 months old, 5 months, and she needed help to get him to the sitter because she's a dentist and she couldn't. So I went to pick him up, and I'll try not to be emotional about this, but I walked in that door and she had a smile on her face, and then my grandson saw me and smiled, and I thought, these two people love me unconditionally. I'm going to be fine.
What are you excited about? Because the odd thing is when you switch into a different job, excitement comes that you've never counted on before. You're there now.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. I'm just excited about the challenge. Okay, again, things are going well, and it's my job to not just pick it up and make sure it stays where it is. I've got the challenge of improving it even more. And that's not to say, I guess the thing, it's maybe the coach in me or the athletic person in me, if you're not getting better every day, you're getting worse. You don't want to think that, hey, we're as good as we're going to get. We're better than everybody else here. We want to be the best, not just in Greene County, not just the best in southwestern Indiana. We want to be one of the best, one of the schools that school corporation people point to and say, they know what they're doing down there. And I think that's where we are, but I have to continue that and set it up in a position so that whoever follows me will have it that way too. I think Dr. Gold, that's her goal is how can it be better? I never want to be somebody that thinks I don't want anybody to improve what I've done. Now, I'm not that, I don't have that much lack of self-confidence. I'm not saying that very smoothly, but I have enough confidence in myself that I can let somebody build on what I've done, because that just means I've left it in pretty good shape.
I don't want to get too much in the weeds about what you might want to do, but I did read where you wanted to work on attendance.
Yes.
That you feel like that is something that you want to address.
It is, and I think it's not just a problem here. I think it's a problem. You talk to any school corporation at getting the kids to be at school and some of that is overcoming what we had from COVID and being used to not being at school. That it wasn't important. That we in fact couldn't be at school, and so now it's they don't feel well. Well, there's a difference between not feeling well and being sick, and I think when you don't feel well, you work through that. I think it's a life lesson that, hey, I need to do more to make myself present. There's so much value in the interaction within a classroom. Even working on my degrees as I did, I liked it more when we were on campus than I did, the distance learning. When I first started, it was you picked up the phone and you dialed the number and you were and sometimes you could ask a question. And then by the time I was, completing, you did have more of the direct interaction, but it's still just sitting around the other people and having that face to face. That's what I want our kids here to recognize. Being here is a lot better than, having mom and dad call and get your homework sent home. Because your parents may be the smartest people in the world, but they aren't there to hear the teacher explain what exactly they want. But so that's why it is one of the things I think we need to work on.
And the last thing I'll talk about here is obviously you've got some jobs to fill. There's principal, there's coaches, there's teachers, and that stuff, as you know, always is ongoing, but maybe a little more this year than when you're coming in here than normal.
Yes, and part of that is just the normal attrition, retirements, or people moving on or decided, and that is I was, I think, very fortunate. The night that I was hired, they also hired the girls varsity basketball coach. Yes. That's an important role here because of the success that Coach Rimmel had. Jared was very successful in his time here, and you just think, how do we replace that? Well, I think they made a good choice in advancing one of his assistants that was around the program during its most successful time. So that's one thing. But we're looking to hire a high school principal, and again, that's an important thing. I don't like to think of legacies very much, but I think it's the decision I help the corporation make. We all make in this regard is. It's going to set the tone for where the school goes, along with me. I'll work with that person, and we have to move things forward.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
It's nice to meet you, and it's nice to have you.
I'm excited about it.